Hey, welcome to this edition of Thrive. I hope it finds you well and that life is good. You know, now that we are this far down the post-lockdown road, I'm wondering how change is going for you. I know that many of you, as we came out of lockdown, had these aspirations of what you wanted to change in your life. For some of you, it was changing your career to something that better suited your passions and gave you the ability to begin to live out of aspects of your personality and character that your previous career didn't. Others of you wanted to make changes to have a better work-life balance. Whatever the changes were, I'm wondering how you're getting on with them. I say that because I suspect for most of you, those changes have taken a back seat as you have slipped back into routines and life has almost resumed to what it was, just in a slightly different environment. And I just want to take a moment to encourage you to think about what it was you wanted to change and to pick that up again. Yet, here's what I know about change. I think the reason that we don't do change well is because we fail to recognize an important part of the whole change process, and that is the nature of transition. When we think of transition, we tend to think of a process that gets us from one state to another. I'm changing my career from this to that, and so the transition is the process I use to resign, to tidy up my whatever projects I'm working on, to take some annual leave perhaps, and then start engaging in my new workplace. And yet, I want to say that transition is more than that. You see, one of the things that we need to recognize about change is change is always situational. It's always external. It's what happens to us. It's what happens around us. Whereas transitions are internal. They are what happen in us. The process is to become who we need to be in order to thrive in whatever change we are moving into. You see, the reason people find change difficult is so often what they simply do is take the version of themselves they are now into the new. And the version that you are now is suited to your now. It's been formed by everything around you. And so the version of you now is suited to what you're doing now. But if you want to thrive and change, you've got to transition yourself. You've got to let go of some behaviors. You've got to change your thinking processes. You've got to change your attitudes. You've got to become something that you're not yet in order to become or to thrive in the change, because the change is going to require you to be different. Let me illustrate it by way of a life change, stages of life. When you're single, you have the luxury of just making your choices for yourself without reference to anybody else. You can eat what you want to eat, when you want to eat it, where you want to eat it. You can watch movies whenever you want, however you want, and you can watch whatever genre you want. But when you get married, it's not simply, I've got another person in the house. You have to transition your thinking. You have to transition your behaviors. You can't carry on living like a single person. You have to become a different version of yourself, a better version of yourself, in order to become the spouse that you need to be so that the two can become as one. That's what I mean by transition. It's an internal thing. And I want to encourage you. I suspect for some of you, the reason you haven't made changes yet is because you're aware of how difficult it is. You're aware of how disruptive it's going to be. But if you were to attend to the internal transition that needs to take place in your life, then you can minimize that. I would begin by asking myself, what type of person do I want to be in the new? What type of person do I need to be in the new? And then look at what needs to change for you to become that person. And as you begin to make those changes, you're transitioning internally and becoming who you need to be for that external change. And as you begin to do that, you begin to become a better version of yourself. And no matter the nature of the change, it's going to be less disruptive and more life-giving, and you're going to thrive. And so that's my encouragement for you. Don't put those changes on the back burner. Don't let go of those dreams. Recognize the external and the internal dynamics. Attend to the internal so that you can live out of the fullness of the external in due course. I hope that's been helpful for you. In the meantime, God bless you. I look forward to catching you next time.